Welcome to Raid Shadow Legends Top 12 Legendary Champions. These are my absolute favorite 12 best Legendary Champions for Raid Shadow Legends. We're going to be starting with the Bannerlords and moving through the factions here. So I want to show you the first one is actually in Bannerlords, and it is Septimus. For me, Septimus is a character I wish I had pulled on my main account. I've pulled all the Bannerlords except him, so it's hilarious at this point. And the entire reason is for his A2 right here, which it does damage based upon the max enemy HP and its attack, and then he gets 30% more damage if they're over 50% HP, meaning he's essentially a one-shot nuker. There's videos of him one-shotting Spider 20. He is a one-target massive nuke for bosses. For that reason, and we absolutely love him. He also decreases the enemy's debuffs, so you can use him in things like Clan Boss to decrease the the duration of the debuffs like poisons, while also doing nuke-based type of damage. Really fun character, great art. I love the fact that they actually did like the two-handed claymore style. I forget exactly what that's called right there. Really big fan of this character overall. Great art, good character. The basics okay, but really it's kind of all about this A2 for him. So if you get him, absolutely you want to build him. He's someone I'm jealous of. Now, moving on to the high elves, because there is a high elf that's actually on my list, which is Lysandra. And if you didn't know, Lysandra is one of the best utility characters in the entire game. She has an aura that can be used literally anywhere. It's the ally speed in all battles aura. That is a really big deal for characters in this game. You need speed for sure. And between the A2, which fully depletes the target's turn meter, and the A3, which increases your own speed, fills your turn meter, and the ally's turn meter, the increase the ally's speed, as well as decreases the turn meter of the enemies. Between these two, she can fully lock out dungeons, for instance, like Fire and Night, making it 100% autoable just with one character alone when you can lock somebody out entirely. Love it. If you look here, the basic will transfer all debuffs, so even if she manages to get debuffs, she transfers it right back. For instance, if you get provoked with a whole bunch of other debuffs and she uses her basic, that person who got provoked now is all the debuffs, okay? So really fantastic champion. If you pull her, you want to 100% max this character, or at least get the A2 and A3 cooldowns done for sure. That being said, we're going to move on to the next character now, which is actually, we're going to skip Sacred Order, because there's a bunch of them in Sacred Order here. I could go off about Martyr, Santa Claus, Cardinal, but actually this is my top 12 and my favorites personally. So I want to go into Alton next, which I believe is actually one of the best attack down characters. He hits extremely hard, has high base defense. Yes, he only has a single hit on basic, but he hits very hard. And when booked, it is a 75% chance of decreased attack on basic. That is pretty good. He also has defense up, and if you kill somebody, it revives. And you're not going to be killing people in the clan boss, but you will in faction wars, which is pretty nice to help you get the additional 3 stars. And then the passive here is that revive I'm talking about, because whenever you kill someone, you get the revive. However, it will reset the cooldown on the skill if there are no champions alive, meaning things like Arena, if you end up having to use them in Arena. When you pop somebody with your A2, you can use your A2 again. Stuff like that's pretty cool. Or when you're going through waves, you get your defense up in one wave because you pop somebody, then you can go to the next wave and get your defense up again, okay? Now, this is another huge reason. It's ally defense in all battles. That is an aura that isn't too common. 33% defense in all battles, meaning you can use it in the clan boss arena wherever. Pretty big deal as well. Alton definitely makes the list for me. And now Turvold, I want to put on the list, but we're not going to. He's going to be an honorable mention. You can go ahead and look through his kit if you'd like to. He's a pretty exciting character. The next one, we actually skip Ogren Tribes, and we're going to go to Lizardmen now. Now, here's a new legendary. Roxanne, I think, looks amazing. You probably thought I was going to go with Dracomorph, but look at here. So let's walk through this character, because it's a little complicated, but if you look here, attacks an enemy, 50% chance of filling the turn meter by 10%. Pretty good turn meter fill. Also has 50% chance of placing a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn if it is critical. So you crit, you get the turn meter fill, and maybe you're going to get the perfect veil. Now the A2 here, again, complicated. Attacks enemy, fills the champion's turn meter, has a chance of placing stun while under a veil or perfect veil, has a chance of placing sleep while under a veil or perfect veil, and places a perfect veil on himself after attacking if he doesn't have a veil, okay? Damage is based upon attack once again. So you can see, basically, if he's invisible, you get some bonuses, and while under a veil or perfect veil, it attacks all enemies, chance of placing a decreased defense, and weaken, decreases the cooldown of jungle ambush, which is again this same move here. While not under a veil, it does the chance of placing decreased defense and 25% weaken for 2 turns before attacking, and places a perfect veil on this champion for 2 turns after attacking. So essentially we have defense down and weaken on AoE if he's under the veil, or 1 person if he's not under the veil, okay? And then he goes under the veil. Again, pretty good. It can either be clan boss or not clan boss. Look here. Places block debuffs and 25% strengthen on this champion for 1 turn, and continuous heal buff for 2 turns whenever they receive a Veil or Perfect Veil. Once again, if this guy's under a Veil or basically you get the point here. You keep this guy veiled, and he has essentially every buff and debuff in the game. It's pretty nuts. You could say the crit rate in Doom Tower matters. I don't think it does. By the time you pull this guy, if you're trying to get in Doom Tower, you probably don't need crit rate. But if you pull this guy, dude, I would max him. Skinwalkers, for me, gets Longbeard, because I actually think Longbeard has been one of my favorite characters. The reason being, attacks with all 4 allies and increases the damage inflicted by allies for 20%, goes down to 4-turn cooldown. Increasing damage, a pretty big deal. You get people that hit pretty hard on the basic, so you mix that plus with the fact he has a weaken. He actually smacks pretty hard. They ignore shield and block damage, so it can help you with magic keep if that's something you really need to know. Other than that, it's really for the charge. The charge is pretty nuts. The crit rate in dungeons can be helpful in dungeons if you need crit rate early on. You pull him early on, he's a big deal. I used him for mid to late game, and I still use him, to be honest. I don't know why, I'm just a huge fan of Longbeard. Now, the Orcs actually have a couple of them. The Iron Brigade from the Fusion is actually very strong. Reason being, almost entirely because of the passive, increases the defense of all allies by 10% of this champion's defense. I think being able to have a bonus defense is crazy. It's like another aura lead, right? If you look here, ally defense in Doom Towers, it's like having another aura, just increasing your defense like that. Placing defense on people with stuns good, and attacks all enemies with provoke and decrease attack. I mean, all these other moves are good, to be honest. Decreasing duration of all buffs. I mean, all of these moves are good. Okay, I mean, they're all good, but really the fact that you just get additional percentage defense on passive just built in for the other guys, that's based upon his defense, and his defense is really high, so you can build in pure defense and everyone else just gets a huge stack of his defense. It's even better than having like 30% of their defense for like an attack champion, right? So this 10% is way bigger than it seems like. Kaimar's always going to be on my list. He has ally speed in arena battles, which is hugely important, but the A3 is mostly why it resets the cooldown of all ally skills and fills the turn meter of all allies except him by 20%. So you get 2 amazing things built into 1. So if you have somebody like Royal Guard Ghost, does huge AoE damage plus single target damage on like a spider or something like that, reset the move, he does it again, you automatically win. You can see why it's so good. I don't even own this character. I wish I did. The basic attack poisons literally everybody if it's crit, so that's a 100% chance basically. And then he removes all buffs on all enemies and sleeps them. I mean, really, every single move by this character is insane. If you pull this guy, 100% max him, go all in on him. He's one of the best characters in the entire game. Warlord within the same faction is a nuts one too. I pull them, and I really end up using for the A3, which is attacks all enemies, 100% chance that when booked to put each target's skills on cooldown, and a 50% chance when booked to fully deplete each target's turn meter. Meaning, the decreased turn meter happens sometimes in arena, but if you go first with Warlord, you almost always automatically win in arena. Also, the basic attack of increasing the duration of all debuffs is pretty nuts. The shield is nuts too, because he gets block debuff on it. It heals people, and it's a big shield. Warlord is really honestly top tier. I mean, he's honestly very top tier. I use him for almost everything at this point. I mean, you can use him with Seer combinations. You can use him for CC. You can use him just for the, in clan boss. I mean, he's really good. Duchess is obviously extremely powerful. You hear people talk about her all the time. If you're wondering why, the passive here decreases damage taken by all allies from AoE attacks by 25% or 15% from the bosses. This doesn't require Vel, it just has to happen. So it means, look at that. People receive less AoE damage. That just happens. That is nuts, okay? But obviously the other moves are super important. Revives all dead allies. Places a Veil buff on all allies except her. Meaning she gets targeted. Places 15% continuous heal on all. You can see why this character is so overpowered. Tanky, revive everybody, perfect Veil on everybody, block debuffs on everybody, increase attack on everybody, shield buff on her lowest allies' HP. I mean, Duchess is one of the characters when you're opening shards and a legendary opens, you hope it's her. I have yet to get her, and I avoid teams that have her in the arena. I'm going to throw a little bit of a weird one at you and say Scartorsus. Kitty, get off the desk. I actually pulled him fairly early in my main account and maxed him out. I'm actually a huge fan. Reason being, removes all debuffs on them, heals them according to the number of debuffs removed. The amount of each ally's turn meter is filled according to the number of debuffs on them. I believe it's 10% per debuff. They don't state it, but when I remove a lot of debuffs, suddenly everyone's turn meter is maxed. It's actually really good. The A2 here does the increased attack and increased crit rate, just a general DPS buffing move, but the AoE on the basic steals one random buff from each enemy at a I believe it's 50% chance when fully booked. You can see here, yeah, 50% chance when fully booked, okay? Which is pretty good when you realize the 50% chance of the stealing random buff is between each enemy. So if you have 5 people or it's a Doom Tower wave or something, you end up stealing like quite a few buffs just on the basic attack. So actually a really big fan of Scar-Torsus. I think he's criminally underrated in my opinion. Moving on though, there's more. Bad Alcazar. I'm not going to go over him too much, but the basic attack heals. The AoE removes all debuffs, places poison on all enemies, and continuous heal. And then the passive makes everyone do more damage to people that are poisoned. As you can see, everyone loves Bad Alcazar. You see him everywhere. Even Chillfly Elite uses him as like his image, right? Because he's so wonderful. If you look here, crit rate in all battles, and the crit rate percentage is actually better than the majority of the people's crit rate who is in something specific like a dungeon, like 23% or something like that. So he's actually pretty good for that crit rate aura as well. And most people don't use crit rate auras, but in the beginning, if you pull them early, having 25% crit rate in everything for everybody is actually a pretty big deal. I really like Bad Al. Everyone knows this one already though. We have another Undead in Mashal. The basic attack heals him a percentage and will attack all enemies under Leech. If you look at the A2 here, it places True Fear and Leech on everybody, so you can understand that synergy. Also does increase speed and increase damage up for your team. Both amazing buffs, right? Look at this. Attacks an enemy, 100% chance when booked of stealing all buffs, not just removing it before attacking. So you can steal all the attack up, the crit rate, all that stuff, and then hit them. Places 100% heal reduction debuff. Also places 2 continuous heal buffs on himself. Damage increases 50% against targets that have no buff. So you can just nuke one person if you would like as well. And then, of course, you get ally attack in dungeon. The character is nuts mostly because of the True Fear, but also because when you get an extra turn from this, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown, it's for 2 turns, it means it's 100% uptime, okay? Relentless makes him even more hilarious. This guy is a god. I've pulled 3 of them on my main, and I think I could max all 3 and still get used to have all of them. In the Dark Elves, I want to talk about Ray. Ray was the first legendary I ever pulled. I got her on my 3rd Ancient Shard ever on my very first account on my main, okay? And the reason I loved her so much, if you look ally speed in all dungeons, 33%, that is the highest amount, and it is fantastic. The A2 is, I want you to think about this before I show you the other moves. It's just an AoE, but it does 50% more damage against targets under debuffs, okay? So they're under a debuff. Now the basic attack applies a debuff. It applies 60% decreased defense, pretty good. And the A3 removes all of the enemy's buffs and has a chance of placing a freeze debuff on everybody, okay? Again, pretty good. Then you can see where the A2 comes into effect. The A2 hits insanely hard, and the move, you see 5%, 10%, and 15% more damage if you do in fact book her. I used her to just one-shot waves. I have multiple of her. I used multiple of her. She's a fantastic character. I think she's also criminally underrated. You can use her in arena, dungeon, PvE, PvP, I mean everything except the clan boss, really. At the end here, I'm going to do a few rapid fire of the kind of honorary mentions. For me, it's going to be Hegemon because he can attack first every single star of the lane. Look, every single star of the round, he goes first. He gets to attack and he blocks your cooldown, so he can be pretty amazing right off the bat, give you a massive advantage. Under the dwarves, everyone loves Tundra because Tundra has basically the best AoE double hit nuke in the game, does 1 billion damage. Also, Mountain King's pretty good if you wear a shield set just because he has the highest base health at 31,000, so you can get these absolute insane shield sets. Then the Shadowkin, I do really like. Shut up, TV, stop. My TV likes to listen to me. And now the Shadowkin, I really like this guy because if you take a look here, extra turn if it kills somebody, but look, attacks 5 times instead of 1 every 4th use of this skill against the same target in 1 round, which is nuts because it does decrease defense and weaken, so you can get some real Giant Slayer damage going on. Steals 100% of the target's turn meter. This guy is absolutely insane if you pull him. I mean, I could keep going. I wanted to limit it to just 12. I already showed you 12. There's plenty more, so I'm going to have to show you guys in the next video of the ones that are my next favorites. So subscribe if you like this type of video. Like if this helped you out at all. I love y'all. Thanks for watching this, and we'll see you on the next Raid Shadow Legends video. Here's a few options to watch on the way out the door. Oh, I'm going live right now too, all that stuff. Okay, bye.